Welcome to the video. My name's Mac, and for this video I have my oil analysis results back for Schaeffers 15W40 on the 6.7 Cummins engine. This is an oil that I'm very familiar with from my 5.9 Cummins and the oil analyses that I've done on it. Those results were very impressive, so I was wondering if the oil could live up to the expectations set from those previous experiences. I will also be comparing this to Shell Rotella T5, which has been run in my 6.7 in the past, and I have some oil analysis data from when we were running Shell. So let's get into the video. I'm going to jump over to a screen recording and analyze the data and break it down for you. Here's a hard copy of the data for the 6.7 engine that I have so far. This data came from Blackstone Labs in Indiana. And we have Shell Rotella T5 on the right with truck with stock emissions. That won't be part of today's video, but I do have a video comparing it to the second one here, which is a 4,000 mile interval with Shell T5 in deleted form. So check the comments for a video comparison of those two. But for this video, we'll be comparing this one with the Schaeffers with 6,000 miles. To make the wear metals fair, we will be multiplying this by 3, dividing it by 2, so that we can see what Shell was on pace for in 6,000 miles. Furthermore, we have the results from the 5.9 engine, all of these with 11,000 miles, and all of them with Schaeffers. So just wanted y'all to see the hard copies so you could pause the video and read all of the data if you want. I'm going to jump over to a screen recording now and analyze the data for you. So here we have the screen recording section of the video, and I've got this zoomed in pretty big so our phone and tablet viewers can read it. We have Schaeffers and Shell, Shell Rotella T5, and we have our engine miles. Schaeffers at 264K, and Shell was the immediately preceding oil change, was the one with Shell at 257K. 6,000 miles on Schaeffers, 4,000 on Shell, with these numbers scaled up to see what they were on pace for to do in 6K miles. I'm giving Shell the benefit of the doubt that in the next 2,000 miles it would have continued to perform at the same level as it had in this first 4K. So that's one small assumption we're making. So just bear that in mind. Aluminum ends up being a tie between the two oils. Both oils had 3 parts per million. Both oils had no chromium, so another tie by default. Iron is your biggest category here. Indicates cylinder wear, and it's the #1 thing that people look at to determine their engine wear and whether their oil is performing well over longer intervals. When you get to those longer intervals like 15, 20K mile intervals for extended drain, the iron is the one that a lot of people really watch for accelerated wear. These intervals are pretty low on miles, so we didn't really get to put them to the test for long term. But we did see that Schaeffers was wearing slower than Shell was, a drop from 10 parts per million to 7, actually about a 30% improvement. But we'll see here in a minute that Shell's number was actually a very good number on its own. Copper ended up being a tie at 1 part per million between the two engines. Lead was not detected, tie by default. Tin, 1 part per million. So really, Shell was hanging with Schaeffers here in every category besides iron, where Schaeffers got the edge. Concerning elements, potassium, silicon, sodium, I wouldn't pay too much mind to this. We had no potassium, which was really good. Silicon was higher in, but I think maybe I should just try changing my air filter. We could be getting a little bit of dust or something coming through the intake. That could be the contaminant right there. Sodium, we have some elevated levels of sodium in both samples, although not way above average. Schaeffers did better with sodium, but I don't think any of these are being driven by the oil, but I list them there to gauge the health of the engine, and they're worth looking at. Anti-wear additives, we can see what kind of anti-wear additives these two oils have and what their strategies are. They're actually kind of similar. Both oils have some moly in it. Shell T4 and T6 don't have any moly, but the T5 does, and it has a decent amount of it. But Schaeffers is known for moly, and they have a nice chunk of it at 81 parts per million. Boron, Shell has more boron than Schaeffers. So both of them have a slightly different twist on what's really the same strategy on the moly and boron front. Phosphorus, both are similar as well with their additive packages. The T5 sample and the Schaeffers sample both had negligible difference on the phosphorus. Some statistical tie. You can see Schaeffers has a slight advantage with extra 20 parts per million, but even looking at my analysis tests from the past, you can see 50, 75 parts per million of variability from one test to the next with the same oil. So I'm calling this a statistical tie. Zinc, there's an extra 51 parts per million in Schaeffers. I'm going to say that Schaeffers has a slight edge here, but this is pretty much a tie as well. These modern oils can only have so much zinc and phosphorus before they might cause some damage to your emissions. So looking at this, both oils have a fairly high additive package for a CK4 modern day oil. It's not uncommon to see these around 1,000 or even 900 in today's oil. So both of these oils come in with a nice additive package. Detergents. This is where they differ a bit. Schaeffers going heavy on the calcium and Shell going heavy on magnesium. I don't think either one is better than the other. So this one is like a wash as far as what I'm seeing here. The Schaeffers is a bit more like Shell T4. T4 uses a lot of calcium. Viscosity looked fine, both oils, no problem. Fuel antifreeze, water not detected. Insolubles at 0.2, oil filters doing a good job. Nothing remarkable there. And then total base number, we didn't do a total base number test. It's just not worth doing a total base number at a 6K oil interval. That would be more of something to do at 12K or 15K to see how the additives are holding up. So now we're coming over here to the 11K mile intervals. Everything is scaled to match the 5.9's 11K intervals. Did the Schaeffers oil and the 6.7 live up to all of the expectations that were set from how amazing my 5.9 intervals were? And if you'd like to see the video about the 5.9 intervals, as well as the video comparing the two T5 samples, as well as any other oil analysis video, I will make a comment down below and you can click to watch those videos. So back to the numbers. Aluminum, 6 parts per million is what we were on pace for. The average is 5. Now keep in mind, a 6.7, in my experience, they're going to have higher wear metals than the 5.9, naturally. Partly because of emissions, partly because of other factors, perhaps. But naturally, the 6.7, we can tolerate a little higher wear metals, so we shouldn't be too hard on the 6.7 if it's not wearing as slowly as my 5.9. And also, the early 6.7s, we could expect a little bit higher wear metals than the later 6.7s. And this is an early 6.7. This is an 09 engine. So aluminum at 6 versus an average 5.9 at 5. These numbers are calculated based on what Blackstone Labs provided to me. And I would say for a 6.7, it's doing fine. It's really right about average on the aluminum. My 5.9 was slightly below average on aluminum, and Shell and Schaeffers both performed the same on aluminum. So nothing to complain about in the aluminum category. Chromium, all engines doing very well. Our piston rings must be doing fine. Iron. So iron is where the highlights are here. So normally you'd expect about 40 parts per million in 11K mile interval. Both of these engines are wearing far less than average. The 5.9 just blew me away by only having 7 parts per million average between those 3 tests in iron, and that's just crazy. So that's where the expectations really got set for Schaeffers. Now in the 6.7, we were on pace to do 14. So yeah, we are seeing double the iron wear that we're seeing over on the 5.9. With that said, still staggeringly below average. And then Shell was on pace for 20 parts per million, and that's still only half of the average that we were expecting. So Shell did fine on its own as well. Copper was a tie across both engines, no matter what oil we used, and it was well below average. Lead was detected in the 5.9 in a trace amount and is well below average, so not concerning at all. The 6.7, we were happy to say that there was no lead. And then tin, we're seeing some tin there in the 6.7 engine, but it's right about average. You know, I know that's a 5.9 numbers there, but that's really nothing to be concerned about either. And then for our concerning elements, you can see here, I scaled these up so you could see, you know, silicon at 14 in that latest interval. We are on pace for doing almost twice what you would normally get on an average 11K miles. So that's why I'll be looking into that air filter thing. So that's it here for the numbers. I think our conclusions are Schaeffers versus Shell. They're actually pretty comparable, but Schaeffers is outperforming in the cylinder wear category. And I think for people who do heavy, severe duty stuff, you know, pulling heavy weight all day and then idling all night and then running the oil 15, 20K miles, I think you would want Schaeffers in that situation. Not that Shell wouldn't hold up decently as well. There's a lot of semi trucks out there running Shell that go to 1,000,000 miles, and Shell is very good. Shell is also considerably cheaper. Not sure exactly what the prices are right now since prices have been changing so much lately, but Shell I could get at Walmart for 17, 18 bucks a gallon, this T5 Rotella. And Schaeffers was more like 33 bucks a gallon, 35 bucks a gallon. So a significant price difference, almost twice the price or roughly twice the price for Schaeffers. So whether that price difference is worth it to somebody, that's a personal decision. I do think Schaeffers has the edge here, but Shell held its own for sure. So I just wanted to do this video for general information. I like doing videos like this. This was fun to find out and test out. And I hope you all enjoyed it and found it helpful. I'm going to cut the video off here. Y'all have a good one.